Hi everyone, this is John Sullivan. Welcome back to Mike Ferry's podcast. I am a coaching client and brand ambassador for the Mike Ferry Organization, and I'm delighted today. Ira, welcome.
Thanks, glad to be here.
One of Mike's top agents and coaches here at the Mike Ferry system. And I just wanted to kind of introduce Ira and thank you for coming on today.
Glad to be here.
So, how long have you been working with Mike?
Oh, I started with Mike in 1997.
1997.
So it's been almost 30 years.
And how did you meet Mike?
When I was first becoming an agent, the guy that hired me was a Mike Ferry disciple and said, you don't quite have your license yet, but while you're continuing your pre-licensing, I want you to listen to these. And he gave me a box of tapes.
Wow.
And I listened to the tapes and had them in my car and got my license, and I was at my first Mike Ferry event 30 days later.
Oh, my God. And then so 30 years with Mike. Tell me about your journey. 30 years is a long time. It's
a long time, but it's been a great time. Like every agent, you know, you all have high goals, and I had just gotten out of the military, so not making money wasn't an option.
Of course.
And so following Mike's system, my first year, I closed 23 deals.
Wow.
And by my 7th year, I was closing 100 deals a year.
Okay. So there's 3 parts I want to go here. I want to go your career as an agent,
okay, your
career as a coach, because you're a very well-respected coach. But I want to take it back. What did you do? You touched on it briefly then. Tell me about life before real estate.
Life before real estate. Well, right out of college, I was in ROTC, and I went in the Army. I went in the Army for 4 years, and 20 years later, I got out.
Exactly. Okay, so a short 20 years in the Army, and thank
right.
you for your service. Obviously, I'm from England, but I think America is the greatest country in the world, so thank you for your service. That's magnificent.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And then you said you needed the money.
Yeah, so I was a logistician in the Army and planned on doing the same thing as a civilian. And my wife and I were looking for new homes, and I decided pretty quickly that most of the realtors we were talking about were mental midgets, and I really had no reason to keep spending a lot of time with them. So I was filling out an application at the kitchen table, and my wife said to me, "You're going to become a realtor." And I said, "Well, yeah, but look at all the people we're dealing with."
Yeah.
I said, "If this is my competition, this is not going to be a problem."
So does that experience you had, and lots of people say I became a realtor because maybe I didn't have a great experience, or on the flip side, they had a wonderful experience and they wanted to try and emulate that agent. Does that help you now when you take on new coaching clients who are brand new in the business?
Oh, I think so. I think everybody's experiences, whether they be good or bad, are going to assist you in helping other people, guiding other people, and leading them in a direction that sets the stage for them to have the opportunity for success if they drink the Kool-Aid.
If they drink the Kool-Aid, and drinking the Kool-Aid, I imagine, would be being a part of Mike Ferry Organization.
Huge part. In any industry. Well, you were a professional soccer player. We've been friends a long time.
Yes, we
have. You were a professional soccer player. You were the goalie, correct?
Well, I tried to be. Most of the time I was on the bench. But when I played, I was the goalie, yep.
Yeah, and even as a goalie, you had a coach the whole time, didn't you?
I did, yep.
It's in any industry, whether you're an actor, whether you're in sports, doesn't matter. People have coaches that help them get better. Those that think they can do it themselves are, in my view, making an error, and that's going to cost them a lot more than they think.
Yeah, I agree. And I really want to dig deep into that later, because you have a wealth of experience, obviously, on the coaching side now, and everyone who's part of the Mike Ferry Organization obviously knows that you're a great coach. But going from the Army and then into real estate, what were your goals when you got into real estate? I didn't imagine you started thinking I'm going to be a coach one day.
I didn't know what a coach was when I first got into real estate. But very quickly, I had monetary goals. My oldest daughter was just getting ready to start college. Being in the military was a great honor of mine, but you don't make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I had committed to all of my kids that they would be able to graduate from college debt-free
Okay.
That was a personal goal of mine to get all of them through college.
And I imagine you made that?
Without any question.
Okay, so you got into real estate, you found the Mike Ferry Organization. Tell me about your first experience signing up for coaching, because I know from my experience, I've got a very supportive wife. And when I told her I was going to sign up for coaching 3 months in, she just said yes. I know a lot of people get some pushback. Tell me about your experience, because that's a big moment in someone's life.
Well, that's a funny story too. I don't ask my wife for permission to do things if they have to do with my business.
Okay.
She never asked me how to run her business, and I don't ask her how to run my business.
Okay.
So, like I mentioned, I went to my first Mike Ferry event 30 days into my journey, and I signed up for coaching right away.
Okay.
Back then, there was only what was then called one-on-one, which is Premier now.
Okay.
There wasn't a lower level. And when I got home, my wife was madder than a two-headed rattlesnake. You did what? You just got out of the Army. You're not making money yet. Blah, 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 blah. And I said, listen, I got to do what I got to do in order to make this work. Well, about 6 months later, I'm again sitting at the kitchen table, and she comes by and slaps me across the side of the head. And I said, what the hell was that for?
Yeah.
She said, what took you so long to get into that Mike Ferry coaching?
Exactly. Am I right in saying that the cost was the same back then?
It was $1,000 a month.
So think about that, everyone. 30 years ago, Ira's leaving the Army, struggling about money, signing up for coaching for pretty much the same price as what it is. I think there's been one price increase.
That's it.
In
There's
all
only
that
been
time.
one.
And obviously our paychecks now are probably much higher than, what was your average sales price and paycheck when you were an agent?
My average sales price when I started was about $165,000.
Okay.
And
you're probably pretty strong on commission. You're a strong person.
I always took 7%.
Okay.
I kept 4 and paid 3.
Okay.
And I was the very first person in our marketplace to ever charge a transaction fee. I learned that from Mike Ferry.
Okay.
And even my broker said, what's this? I said, well, it's my transaction fee. She said, what's a transaction fee? I said, it's the fee I charge. Well, isn't that commission? No, commission is to put buyer and seller together. This is the administrative cost of the transaction.
So how did Mike teach you that?
Well, at the very first event that I went to, they started talking about the need to charge transaction fees in order to be able to subsidize the income, because our expenses are there. And we were taught the cost of taking a listing, the cost of taking out a buyer.
Yeah.
Because Mike breaks it all down as a business.
He does.
We're not just there to have fun showing houses.
No, we're not. We're there to make money. We're there to be profitable. Right. Obviously, along the way, we meet some fantastic people. But the fact that Mike, how much did that make you in your career, do you think, just Mike teaching you how to take a transaction fee? I mean, what did you charge per transaction fee?
When I started off, it was $250.
Okay.
6 months later, it went to $300.
Okay.
Then it went to $350.
Okay.
The same manager came up and said, well, this fee keeps changing. And I said, because nobody's complaining. She said, what does that mean? I said, it's going to continue to increase until I get pushback. If I don't get pushback, it means I'm not charging enough.
Wow. So what did you get it to? What was the maximum?
$695.
And you did 100 deals a year?
Yes.
So it's an extra $70,000?
That's right.
Just from
transaction fees.
Which back then covered 5 years of coaching.
That's exactly right.
And they're the little things that we don't talk about much, right? But they're the little things that can really change your life. I mean, that income just going from that one event, hearing that thing that Mike's, and you adopted the mindset, I'm going to be charging a transaction fee. Your strong mindset was from your Army days, or were you always like this?
I think I was always like that, but certainly it got stronger in the Army.
And then a 7% commission, who taught you how to charge that?
That was pretty normal when I got into real estate.
Okay.
It wasn't normal to keep 4 and pay 3.
Okay.
But
which is really what, when you're a listing agent, you take on all the responsibility, right?
That's right.
You take on all the cost.
That's right.
Mike obviously teaches us to take as many listings as we can and be listing focused. Is that something you teach your agents now in regards to profitability to keep more commission?
Without question. And also we talk about the fact that buyers are also important. And sometimes I'll get pushback from the coaching clients, but Mike says to do listings. I said, no, Mike does not say to just do listings. Mike says to focus on listings.
He does.
But you've never heard him say not to take buyers out. There's certain buyers that we should be taking out, whether it's our sellers who then have a house to buy, that out-of-town referral that's only coming in for a weekend and they're going to buy a house that weekend, and it's not the low-income people that are being transferred.
Exactly.
It's the high-income people. Yeah. So there's a nice paychecks that are almost guaranteed.
I mean, Mike teaches all of us make smart business decisions, right?
And use common sense.
Use common sense. And like even for my business, 30% of my business is working buyers because like you said, we work those, referrals who are pre-qualified, the people who are selling and buying. Right. And for me, I enjoy the moment of putting them into a house. That's a big moment for me. But I love what you said there. Mike says focus on listings. How do you teach your coaching clients today to focus on listings?
Well, it's real important because if you control the inventory, the business is there for you. See, when you only focus on buyers, if that's your focus, if it's a good house, there's probably going to be competing offers.
Yeah.
So now it's you against 5 people, 10 people, 15 people, whatever the case may be, and only one can get the house. For sure, the listing agent is going to get paid.
They are.
So focusing on listings is so critical because another former boss of mine taught you have to list to last.
List to last. And now Mike talks, that's what Mike says. We need to be taking listings now. And you're going to get those buyer calls anyway if you want to work buyers by having signs on the ground. Like
that's right.
Mike always says.
Buyers follow the signs.
Buyers follow the signs. So Mike and the Mike Ferry Organization took you to 100 deals a year.
Yeah.
How long did that take? You said 7 years?
7 years.
What was that journey like? Was it a painful one? Was it just every year doing the 20% rule? How did you get to that place?
It was probably close to 20% a year, but I was singularly focused on making those goals. So I would go to work at 5:30 in the morning.
Wow.
This was before the days of Vulcan 7 or Red X or Kohl's or Arch Communication. Those didn't exist. We used to have a great big book and have to look up the expireds ourselves. And then I would get the daily newspaper and cut out the for sale by owners and tape them to 3x5 cards and put them in telephone number order so that I didn't duplicate. And so 5:30 in the morning was my admin time to get
you were
that
more
stuff
invested.
done.
You were more invested. Like you did all that work. You were not going to go get a lead. Is it almost too easy for us now?
Oh, I don't think it's too easy. There's different challenges. Back then there was no such thing as caller ID unless you paid a lot of extra money, which very few people did.
Okay.
Everybody answered the phone. It was all landlines.
Okay. So you could get more people on the phone back then?
You could get more people on the phone back then.
Okay. So transition to today. You've been a coach with Mike for
19 years.
19 years. And what made you, selling 100 homes a year, what made you change? Like, was it just a natural progression to want to stay in the business but maybe not be out there pounding the pavement?
No, it was I was at an action workshop in Washington, D.C., and Mike was doing it himself. And as you all know, sometimes he just looks down in the crowd and says, John? Yeah.
Yep.
Well, he looked down in the crowd and said, Ira, see me during the break, and then went right back to his presentation.
Okay.
To be honest with you, I didn't know Mike Ferry personally knew me.
Okay.
So during the break, I went up and said, Mike, you wanted to see me? And he said, why aren't you a coach? And that day I became a coach.
And what was the transition of changing from, because there's probably a lot of coaching clients who are thinking about becoming a coach, and it's a big commitment. Like my coach, Mitch DuBoyan, he has a lot of responsibility for me and my income.
I'm Mitch's coach.
Oh, okay.
I've been Mitch's coach for 10 years.
Okay, so it's like a little coach triangle right now.
That's right.
So Mitch is all business, right? One of the things I like about
One
work,
of the best.
He's like personal, nothing ever gets in the way. But he has a lot of responsibility. Like those calls that I have with him every week are very, very important. It's in my schedule. It never gets moved. No appointment's ever going to replace that. I imagine you understand the importance of the role you play in your clients' lives.
Yeah, it's critical. We have to be there for them.
And how many clients do you have today? How many coaching clients?
36.
36. Okay. And are they all experienced? Is there a mixture?
No, I've got some new clients too, some new agents in the business.
Okay.
And certainly a lot of experienced agents. So I like to have a mixture.
I feel like me being in the business 10 years now, I need to get back to basics a little bit. I've drifted away from maybe what got me to a really good point. Are you seeing that with some of your experienced
I think that's
agents?
common with everybody.
Okay.
No matter how good you are, we've got to stay with the basics because that's what got us to where we are to begin with.
Okay.
It's important to get to events, not just the 2 superstar retreats or production retreat a year, but it's important to go to the skills-oriented events like the action workshop or the productivity school or a productivity or a prospecting clinic, where you can get in a smaller group more detailed information and more individual assistance.
Okay. Because when I spoke to Sabrina and we discussed about, me and you speaking today, which is a big honor, I really think it's important for Mike and Sabrina's clients at this company to dig deep into what a coach thinks. We know what agents think because we're agents.
Right.
And I really want to dig deep to seeing it from your side because you see a different side from us, right? So when I coach with Mitch, I may be thinking one thing, thinking, this is what I need to do. But Mitch may be thinking, actually, John, this is not what you need to do. You need to pivot here. How have you learned over the years to kind of take an agent from, say, A to Z? Okay, Ira, I want to do 60 deals next year. Last year I did 30. How do you put that roadmap in place?
That's a great question. One of the things I do, John, is I really focus to begin with on why they have that individual goal.
Okay.
See, it's easy to say I want to go from 30 to 60. And by the way, with the Mike Ferry Organization, you can do it. With the Mike Ferry sales system, it's very, very attainable. But if you don't know why you want to do it, you're probably not going to do the work that it takes to get it done.
Is the reason normally money?
It might be money.
Okay.
It might be money. It might be pride. It might be just the challenge.
Wanting to be on stage. A lot of people have that goal, right? Wanting to impress Mike.
Want to impress Mike. Want to be on stage. One of my good friends, Bernie Gallerini. You know Bernie.
Yeah, of course. He's amazing.
I've known Bernie since his first month in real estate.
Wow.
And he is so driven. And certainly at this point, it's not because of money. Mm-hmm. It's because of the challenge of continuing to grow.
So you've seen Bernie from pretty much month one.
From month one.
I know when I went to my first ever production retreat at the Mirage, I was at the back of the room. Every time I go to an event, I try and meet people who are on the fence about joining coaching because it's changed my life. The reason we push coaching is because we know it's going to help people. Mike really just wants to help people. So does Sabrina. That's what the company's here for.
That's what it's here for.
Is it getting harder to convince people to join coaching at the back of the room? Are people as willingness and open? You've got a few new clients now. When you get these new agents come into play, what are the first things you're going through to introduce them to the Mike Ferry system? Because everyone's pushing other stuff, maybe social media and open house and farming. And I'm not disregarding that. There's some business to be done there.
Sure.
But I like the 180-degree rule where what everyone else is doing, we do the opposite here at the Mike Ferry Organization. So when you get a new client come, they're brand new in the business, what are you saying to them?
Well, we first we go through their goals and why those goals are important to them. And then we develop a schedule that's specifically designed to help them achieve those goals.
Can you give me an example?
Well, if your goal is to do 12 deals a year, that's only one a month. You don't need to be really strict on a schedule.
Okay.
If your goals are only to do one deal a month. Mm-hmm. Because that'll happen just almost by showing up.
So if they say to you, I want to do 12 deals a year, do you challenge them and say, why only 12?
Yeah, certainly. I'll ask them, what's important about 12?
Okay.
What's your average commission check? How much is your monthly nut? What does it cost you to live monthly? And usually they don't know. Mm-hmm. Or they'll come up with a number that is inaccurate.
Okay.
And by that, I mean, they're forgetting so many things. So I'll ask them, okay, how do you come up with that number? Well, and they'll tell me about their mortgage or their rent. They'll tell me about their utilities. They'll tell me about their food bill. I said, okay. Did you go on vacation? Well, yeah. How much does your vacation cost? Mm. Well, $5,000. Okay, where do you get the $5,000? Well, from the bank account. But wait a minute. If you only accounted for the rent, the utilities, and so forth, the $5,000 isn't there.
Yeah.
And what about retirement? Now, I know you're young now. How old are you, John?
I'm 38.
38. So if you work till you're 70, you've got another 32 years to go.
Yeah.
And I know you're real responsible and you've done a great job and you're saving for retirement, but a lot of people don't think about that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden when they're 68, they still don't have the money in a retirement fund. So we talk about that. That's part of their monthly nut if they're going to prepare. Do you want to pay for your kid's way through college? Yeah. Maybe yes, maybe no. But they've got to account for all of these dollars because what happens is a lot of them go on vacation with money they don't have.
Okay. So as agents, we got to be better with money. I think we all agree with that. I know Mike sometimes dips in and out of that, but at the end of the day, we make the money. It's our responsibility. Are there 2 or 3 tips that you think anyone in coaching, whether they're seasoned 30 years, Bernie Gallerini, or someone who's brand new, how can we pull more out of your coaches? How we all try and pull out of Mike and Sabrina, ask them questions. How can we get more out of our coaches? Because I think there's so many great coaches at this company.
Yeah, that's a great question too. The best way to get the most out of your coaching is to ask good questions on every single call. Have questions prepared that have to do with your business, what's going on with your business and how we can make adjustments and make corrections. What's getting you off schedule? Track your time. We all get off schedule at times. But what's taking you off schedule and why was that such an impact?
And what are the normal things, the distractions these days that you're seeing?
Well, they've got this fire to take care of.
Okay.
And I've never really understood that one because I thought we were real estate agents and not firemen.
Not firemen, not firefighters.
But they're answering the phone at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning rather than focusing on what their schedule says, which is prospecting.
Okay.
And that's going to take them off every time. Or they're checking email. Stay with your morning schedule. So that's money time.
Give me an example quickly of a perfect morning schedule for a 24 to 100 deal a year agent.
Okay. Well, first of all, I think we need to practice every day.
Okay.
You should be role-playing or practicing every day, at least a half hour. In addition to that, we've got to have at least 2 to 3 hours, depending what your goals are, of solid prospecting without interruption.
Okay, so my goal is 100 deals for 3 hours prospecting?
Well, maybe not.
Okay.
So I would ask first, how many do you have in your center of influence?
Okay.
And your past client list? Because the larger that is, the easier your prospecting is going to be. Mm-hmm. Those that don't want to call people they know and would rather focus on people they don't know.
The hunters.
Yeah.
And have you got some hunters?
Yeah, we've got some hunters.
Okay. So out of your coaching pool of clients, I imagine you have some people who have had the best year last year of their career and some people who are maybe trying to get back on track.
Sure.
There's a lot of doom and gloom around the industry. I know for me being, in real estate here in Las Vegas where you live now, yes, it's tougher. Yes, it can be challenging. But there's some incredible opportunities right now because it seems like a lot of the competition is kind of taking a step back or they're kind of giving up a little bit, right? Do you have some agents who are doing phenomenally well? You don't have to name names, but
I coach a couple in Las Vegas, and they're both doing very, very well.
Okay.
There's a lot of business to be had, no matter where your marketplace is.
Okay.
The key is to grow your database, meet the people, and make the calls.
Okay. Yeah. And just talk to people about real estate.
Talk to people about real estate.
So
you can't be a secret agent.
You can't be a secret agent. So one of my goals for today, speaking to Ira, because I think we're very lucky to have coaches like Ira at this company, is to really, for us people in coaching clients, are we doing everything we can to get everything out of the system? As we spoke about earlier, the price hasn't really changed in 30 years. Pretty ridiculous if you ask me. But I also want to see, can this reach someone who's maybe on the fence, who's thinking about joining coaching and they're not sure whether it's a monetary thing or maybe they think, I don't want to just do prospecting and cold calls. What a couple of advice do you had for someone who's on the fence? They've been to a 3 or 4 superstar retreats. They've been to maybe a production retreat. They want to get into real estate. They want to get into Mike Ferry's system, but they haven't yet. What advice do you have for them?
Well, like the Nike commercials say, you just have to do it. You've got to have that blind faith that the system works like you've so eloquently shown for yourself. I mean, you came here to the United States and basically didn't know anybody.
Yep.
And you've lived here, what, for 10 years now?
Yeah, it's 10 years in the business. I've lived here 13 years.
Lived here 13 years, 10 years in the business, and you're doing what, 150 deals?
I wish. That would be nice. Yeah, no, my goal this year is 120.
120,
Maybe I need to raise it to 150,
Maybe,
you know?
But you're doing significant business, and that's without growing up here and without knowing people until you got here.
But I also think that's sometimes a benefit. I see people coming out of real estate school. Oh my God, I've got 3 or 4 people. They put all their eggs in the basket, and then within 12 months, they've closed 4 deals, but they're all family members, and they haven't learned how to prospect.
Right.
On day one for me, I got given Mike Ferry scripts, and I learned that rejection.
Well, just like I knew from the Army that when the bosses tell you this is what you do it. You knew it from being a professional athlete.
Yeah.
That when the bosses tell you, when the coaches tell you what to do, you've got to do it. They've got to have faith in the system, and it's hard sometimes. You know, when a client wants you to come to their house at 10 o'clock in the morning and you're tied to the outcome, it's hard to say, gosh, I'm booked then, but I can be there at 2. Or what's the issue? I might be able to solve it right here over the phone.
Exactly, yeah. And I think just having the schedule, I know for me, was a big thing earlier on. Hey, come to my house at 10 o'clock, you just went. But when you really get that mindset, and I think the clients actually appreciate the fact, like Mike always says, you don't call your doctor and just say, hey, I'm going to be with you at 10 a.m.
Right.
You know, you make that work, you know. So you touched on something then about, you know, coming from England. I really want everyone to understand, you know, being from England and obviously now being in America, the opportunity we have in real estate, Ira, is like, we don't even understand how good of an opportunity we have. And, you know, in real estate in England, I think if you sell a house, the company may make maybe 0.75, but my mum just sold their house. Oh, I sold it. They gave me a return discount of 0.9%. I said, to your agent? She goes, no, total commission. I think everyone really has to appreciate what an opportunity we have in America with this career. And we have Mike. He's been doing this for 50 years. Like, how lucky are we?
Well, you know, in my opinion, we are in one of the most overpaid professions in America.
Okay.
And my wife likes it.
Yeah, exactly. And when you say overpaid, right, as an industry, maybe we are, but the really good agents deserve every penny.
The really good agents deserve every penny, but they're making millions.
Millions, okay.
They're making millions. You know, other than as a professional athlete at the major league levels, where do people make that money?
Yeah.
Doctors don't make that much. Lawyers don't make that much. We have opportunities, but we have to put in the effort. And it's not a matter of working hard. It's a matter of working smart.
Okay. And then going back to working smart and making millions, which is what everyone's goal is, right? It comes down to customer service, surely.
Customer service is key.
Okay, customer service key.
And customer service doesn't mean being at a beck and call.
Okay. So what does customer service mean to Ira, the coach?
Well, you've got to be calling your database 4 times a year.
Okay.
You've got to have your A-list and be calling them once a month.
Okay. So what for someone who doesn't know, what's an A-list?
The A-list are those people that are either actively referring business to you,
okay,
or have the ability to refer business to you based on their professions. For example, a financial advisor, or a CPA, or a divorce attorney, if they're on your, or a bankruptcy attorney, if they're on your database, they have the ability to be referring business to you because their customers are referring business to you. I coached a guy that gets 12 deals a year from his florist because the florist always knows when somebody died or if somebody's getting married.
Wow. Just because of that. That's unbelievable. Okay, big shoes to fill here. Obviously, being in Mike's seat, it feels very strange. And obviously, we all know Mike's such a legend in this industry. But one piece of advice for the audience, one really big key that can really help them make 2026 their best year ever.
If you're in coaching currently, get more involved in the events. Participate. And when you have questions during the week, reach out to your coach, whether it's a text, whether it's an email, in some cases, whether it's a phone call.
Wow,
reach out. And I know that you've done that over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But sometimes we take it for granted.
Yeah.
So that's a great bit of advice.
Be sure to reach out. If you're not in coaching, join coaching. It will change your life.
Wonderful. Ira, thank you so much.
John, thanks for being here.
On behalf of Mike and Sabrina, thank you for being on Mike Ferry's podcast today. I think everyone took some great points, and we look forward to seeing you at the next event.
I look forward to it too. Thanks, John.
Thank you.